Hey everyone, Bobby D here, and thanks for popping back in over at the BS Zone. Today, I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing a 2-year review on the 2021 Kawasaki ZX10R. I'm going to talk a bit about the features that I like about the bike, as well as some of the drawbacks and my reasoning for doing some of the mods and the upgrades that I did to this motorcycle. So with that, let's get going. I'll start off talking about some of the more popular things that guys really want to do to their bikes right off the get-go, and I'll lead into maybe why I've done that and how it's all worked out. So with that, first thing most people are wanting to do, add a little sound to their bike. So with this bike, I've added the M4 Carbon Tech 1 full system. Now, I did this in the stainless steel versus the titanium, and you may say, hey, you know, you can titanium drop a little bit more weight, but this system alone, getting rid of that catalytic converter and that stock huge muffler, I shed a lot of weight on the motorcycle. Early in 2021, when there weren't many options, I had an Aero 3/4 system on this bike. System fit real well, really loud. This Carbon Tech 1 by M4, you know, it's got a deeper sound than the Aero had, and it's not as obnoxiously loud, but it still sounds good, and I'll fire it up in a bit here. Now, this bike has an ECU flash and tune by Hoffer Performance, and I've got a little decal tucked up in there. But going back a little bit on the history of these bikes, before we had the Woolich software that allowed us to get into unrestricting them and tuning our air-fuel ratio and all that stuff, I did have a Power Commander 5 mounted up on this bike. Now, with restrictions still in place, but tweaking the air and the fuel ratio and some of the things that you can do with the Power Commander, I was able to get 168 horsepower out of this bike. So if you're looking at just doing something like that, and you're not really concerned with getting maximum peak power, but you want to tune an exhaust that you put on your bike, hey, a Power Commander is still an option for you, and you're still going to be getting near 170 horsepower, which is a lot for a road bike. If you think about the past generations of these bikes, you're still very high. But with this one, I do have it completely unrestricted and tuned, and I'm running over 200 horsepower on it. Now, apples to oranges, different dynos or whatnot, but I'm just here to say this one tuned out well. A lot of people are talking about the Woolich software and some issues that they're running into, primarily with the shifter. Now, if you've got a tuner that's familiar with this bike, they're figuring out backdoor ways to smooth out that auto blipper. Now, the quick shifter, the delay, it's a little bit longer than most of us would like, but it still works fine. The blipper, that can be cleaned up some. I'm certain that Woolich is still working on this despite people claiming, hey, I talked with Woolich and they're done with it. I don't think it's the case, so stay tuned with that. But aside from that, I've also did several other upgrades to make this bike more comfortable, user-friendly, and really look better. I got rid of some things that are just not good or pleasing to the eye for a top-tier leader bike or a machine like this. So let's go through some things here. Start off with the windshield. I'm running the PWEC Z Racing screen. Now, if I get behind the bike here, you can see this nice raise here. The OEM screen comes down, you know, probably close to 2 inches lower. This PWEC screen looks better, a little bit better wind protection. The levers, these levers, ASV F3 levers I'm running, much more adjustable, better feel, better fit, and just a more high quality part, getting rid of some of the cast and the areas that Kawasaki's use to save money on these bikes. That leads to the rear sets as well. So these Vortex V2 adjustable rear sets that I have, they look better, they fit better, they feel better, they're sturdier. We've got fixed pegs here. So I was talking with some people earlier that these pegs will actually be part of your crash protection system. Fixed pegs are going to hold the bike up if it goes down. I'm also running the Woodcraft frame sliders on here on the sides, and I've got Litec axle sliders on the front and on the back, along with the Litec chain adjusters. Now, I do have some content out talking about these Litec chain adjusters. Now, these are nice. When you get to your chain and you want to adjust things, you turn this here and you get a nice equal click on both sides. That's the only good thing, other than, hey, they are some jewelry for your bike. This click is nice, it is uniform. However, these little hash marks right here are not accurate left to right. So I suggest people get a Motion Pro chain alignment tool. It's a little tool that clamps on here. I've got some content out showing you how to use one, and it runs a little bar, and it allows you to get this thing lined up perfect. I'm also running a Vortex sprocket set on this bike and a improved chain. Now, the chain that comes on the bike really isn't a problem, other than the fact that it's going to corrode and rust up and look nasty on your nice new bike right away because it's not a coated or finished chain. So, hey, you can upgrade your chain, you know, when that thing runs out. But if you want your bike to look nice, something like this EK that I'm running is a little bit better as well. Now, get into more cosmetic things that I've done to this bike. You know, these are the knockoff winglet mirrors. You know, my whole purpose for going with these was the factory mirrors. They work great. You can see behind you just perfect. However, the mounting bracket for them up in here is not real sturdy, and the factory mirrors are kind of like a big old puppy dog ear, and they start moving around and vibrating a lot. So, hey, I didn't want to spend the big money on the Rizomas, so I checked these out. These are some aftermarket winglet deals. I'm not worried about aerodynamics. I'm not worried about them giving me some substantial downforce. But what I am worried about is them looking better. And you know what? I think I achieved that with these, and they're inexpensive. Worked for me. Going through the bike, I've also got some R&G chassis protectors on the bike right here. So these are the deals that keep your boot from rubbing off your finish, as well as the tech spec tank grips. A lot of people are running these. These allow you to grip the tank a little bit better. And if you're in a climate like I am, your metal tank gets cold, your cold fuel in there, these insulate your legs a little bit better. So tech specs, they've got a couple different kind. Can't remember what these ones are called, but these are the rubber one. They make some that are kind of a foam, and they also do offer a thinner version of these rubber ones. I applied those to a bike recently. They don't seem to adhere as well as these ones. So if you're shopping for tech specs, I'd suggest you look at these ones. Going back to the rear of the bike, I am running a Blaster X integrated taillight. Now I've got the smoke taillight, and the blinkers are integrated into it, as well as the NRC turn signals up front. Now these, you know, you can't really see them real well in the daylight here, but I ended up going with these because putting these mirrors on, obviously you lose your turn signals, and with nothing up front, every vehicle in the front doesn't know that you plan to turn, and I had cars turning in front of me, had enough of that. These have seemed to solve the problem. So I think that's most of the things I've done to the bike. I do have a lighter rear sprocket on this bike. I have a Sprint P08 air filter in the bike. I've got some carbon fiber, you know, here and there on the bike. As far as tires go, the bike comes with the RS11s from the factory. Don't expect those to last a long time. You're going to get a couple thousand miles at max out of that rear. I'm electing to go with the Bridgestone S22s. They seem to grip really good. I do ride this bike aggressively in cornering, as well as a little bit of the, you know, kind of the roll racing that buddies do with each other. This bike gets a little bit of everything done when I ride it. So the S22s, I found those to be a good tire for me. So working away around to the top of the bike, I do have a keyless gas cap on here. Kind of like how this works. The one that I have is the TWM. Real simple to use. It's just a spring mechanism down in there to get this open. I don't ever leave this bike really unattended, so I'm not really worried about somebody sabotaging my bike or contaminating my fuel. If you do things like that, I would not suggest one of these. Somebody could dump anything down into your fuel. Comes to the seat cowl on the rear. This seat cowl is not a OEM or factory Kawasaki one. This is an off-brand one that I picked up off of eBay, and I got color right matching paint to match up the green, because the green on the eBay ones or any of the aftermarket bodywork is really not very close to an exact Kawasaki. So for about 30 or 40 bucks, I picked up the color right aerosol green, as well as the aerosol clear, some wet sanding paper, and I painted this unit green and had this custom decal made for the rear in order to kind of match it up a bit. with the front. But that's just something I'd made. If you're interested in something like that, I can get you a link in the description. But overall, riding this bike has been a treat to ride. I have not had any significant issues as far as mechanical problems, mechanical failures, or anything of that sort. My bike did have a recall on a oil pressure switch, basically, that runs up in my oil pan. I had that taken care of. But as far as that, I've had no mechanical problems with the bike, no kinds of leaks, rattles, or anything not working as it's supposed to. As far as performance goes and handling, I've been really happy with the bike. Pre-tune, when the bike was all stock, everything worked great. It really had a smooth enough throttle, and it was what you'd expect. When I initially put the Aero exhaust and cat eliminator on it with the Power Commander tune, I did encounter some throttle twitchiness and some things of that nature that I really wasn't too happy with. And I had to be patient until 2022 to get this bike's ECU flash. So last year, after I had Hoffer Performance flash my ECU, the bike really performed a lot better, and I was happy with it. Woolich has since released some updates, and I've done some more work to the ECU flash and cleaned a few things up. And it leads me to the big question all over on the web right now when people are talking about these Gen 6s is sending their ECU out to get flashed or throwing it in the mail. How should they go about doing that? I am a huge advocate of taking your bike to a quality dyno tuner. Look around. There's some people out there that are hacks that even though you're taking your bike to them, you may not end up with a quality tune. There's some mail-in guys that have big names. Doesn't mean you're getting a quality tune. So do your research, do your homework, and find out if people are happy with that tune that they're, sending their ECU off to get done. I've been really happy with Hoffer Performance. I'm here in Michigan. Can also link you with some information over to Ricardo over on the northeast side towards New Jersey. Very familiar with this bike. Ricardo's tuned a lot of these things over the last couple years. So with that, the rideability of this bike has been great. This bike really does have some features over the Gen 5s and the Gen 4s, as well as the way they've set the chassis up on this bike. It's been a constant improvement, constant tweaking over the last few generations that I've owned, and I've been really happy with this bike. I continue to do some cosmetic upgrades and small minor performance upgrades as I own this thing. I do ride a ZX10R and some other bikes, but this bike keeps getting the sauce sent to it. So with that, this is my quick 2-year going on 3 review of a 2021 Kawasaki ZX10R. In a nutshell, we've got nice, good performance. This bike is rocking and ripping, keeping up with everything in its class. We've got no mechanical errors, problems, leaks, anything like that, and no handling flaws or anything of that sort that really would preclude me from telling somebody to go out and buy one of these. So there it is. This is my 2021. I'm happy with it. If you got any questions, chime in the comments section. Till then, keep on riding. Oh snap, my bad. I forgot. I need to fire this thing up. Everybody wants to hear what this M4 sounds like. So let's get this thing going. We're going to do a cold start here. Now, just like always, these microphones don't always pick up an exhaust note as good as they could. But here we go. This is the M4 Carbon Tech 1. I'll let this thing warm up just a little bit before I give it some throttle. And I'll let you guys chime in. Let me know what you think of the M4 Carbon Tech 1. Alright, and this time with that we will sign off. So there it is, your 2021 ZX10R rumbling along with an M4 Carbon Tech 1 full system.